One of the women activists came out to speak to the hearts of very many Ugandans. He came out to talk about the injustice and the electoral violence of the country, and he took on Simon Byabakama for being quiet, for being dumb and incompetent on handling elections. She came out to say this.
And I want to give two examples of what previous chairs of the Electoral Commission have done. The first one, Justice Chairman Akabwai, Stephen. When the army interfered with elections in Gulu, campaigning for Honorable Betul Gombe against Norbert Mao, Justice Akabwai wrote the first warning that the army must have no role in elections. They ignored it. He sent his deputy, who was then Haji Aziz Kasuja, on the ground. Once Aziz Kasuja came with a report, he stopped that election. After further assessment, he declared Norbert Mao the winner. They didn't go voting. When Aziz Kasuja later becomes the chair, a by-election in Urukunjiri, and the army interferes at the beginning of the reform agenda. He writes to the president, withdraw the army or I cancel elections. And the army was withdrawn. But here we are with a justice, a constitutional court, that cannot exercise his powers to deliver a credible election in Uganda. So we need to define minimum standards for an election so that when the army comes in and beats people in Gulu, that whole exercise is nullified. And if time runs out, then the current president leaves office and the vice president takes over, like the Constitution provides. We need to move to that level to deal with the impunity of the army in our elections, to deal with characters who vulgarize democracy in this country. We need also, and this is my third recommendation as I conclude, we need also, led by the Radical New Bank, to drag the IGP court to explain under what circumstances does he invite the army to torture Ugandans in the day-to-day policing that is his duties in the Constitution. Under what circumstances does he handle?
That is Sarah BIREETE, one of the women activists in the country. It's the reasons to why there are women in this country who have really added value on our democracy. And there are not very many. They can be counted on the fingertips. One of them is Sarah BIREETE. So the purpose of this video, I've come to talk about the injustices in an election to show you that Simon Byabakama is the most incompetent electoral chairperson who is presiding over an election without using his powers to stop the brutality. He relinquished the power of the Electoral Commission to the army. Right now, the army and the police are the one controlling elections, which is unfortunate. Byabakama should understand that we have a history of a civil war because of a failed election. In fact, Byabakama deserved some whips. That is for Simon Byabakama to understand that our country is on the brink of failure because of incompetence. So the purpose of this video, I've come to discuss the statements of Sarah BIREETE, what it means for our country, and most importantly, the study materials you can learn from the politics of our nation. But before I do this, I want to let you know that if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. First of all, it is now very clear that it is like as if the Electoral Commission is working in conjunction with the military to overthrow the power of the people. I normally see the security army controlling election while Byabakama keeps on keeping quiet. Sarah BIREETE came out to reveal that in previous election, chairperson came out to always stop the army in engaging in politics. Yet right now they are given a leeway. Can you imagine if a candidate is supposed to be in a certain district, the security personnel keeps on telling him where to campaign and where to not campaign. Yet, if I'm in a certain district, I can campaign anywhere as long as it's not a government installation which are prohibited under Constitution. But I'm free to campaign even in the markets. It is allowed. Even when Bobby Wine is moving around, there are some roads he cannot use because apparently there are very many people. The same roads where when candidate Joy Kaguta Museveni is coming, they are opened freely. You clearly see the double standards as the Electoral Commission chairperson, the incompetent Byabakama, continues to give a leeway to these rogues to run the election. In the previous election, people were killed, battered. The Electoral Commission was silent. I know people like Badiru Chigundu were weak, but Byabakama is the weakest. Is giving away our process to rogue elements to run. It is the truth. The day Byabakama came out to say that people who say that they are going to stay around after elections, they must go away because they will be beaten, I felt like crying. Yet he's a Supreme Court judge. Well knowing that the Constitution allows people to stay around 20 meters away, but he came out to buttress his point that they must not stay. So he was abrogating the Constitution. Yet he's supposed to be partial in the election. He's supposed to be a partial arbiter. Such people who aid our electoral process, even when laws are read in black and white in their faces, they continue acting the contrary. He came out to say, just imagine if people are very many there, just imagine. Laws are not just imagined. You must stick to the law, most especially when you are judged. So Sarah BIREETE coming out to make that emotional statement, it is a plus to our democracy. In fact, she also said this. Here's the tape.
I want to invite the Law Society to help us resolve this controversy. Under what circumstances should we be seeing the army on our streets? And if the radical new bar cannot help resolve this controversy, which is at the heart of rule of law matters in this country, then there will be no radicalness in this bar that we love so much. Then we shall not be back on track until we define how the army interacts with citizens of this country. Look at the ugly events in Gulu. I've been telling people, because I come from the cattle keeping region, that there is no cattle owner that can subject his cattle to the whipping of civilians we saw in Gulu. Cows are no longer beaten. But the army, using, that stick for keeping cattle, for herding cattle, descends on people, members of the opposition, in broad daylight, beat them on camera, and business goes on as usual. As if we are a normal country. We have been.
That is Sarah BIREETE. And Sarah BIREETE is actually right. The law enforcers, Uganda should understand that they have the absolute power. We should stop sitting down and wailing, crying, because they are stepping on our neck. We should come out to also enforce the Constitution. I'm not calling for violence because I know this regime is so petty. They can come from, yes, Sura, you made some inciting remarks. No, the Constitution must be followed. It is the truth. Talk about the torture, the inhuman abuses which are going on in our country. We cannot afford to let this country go to the dogs, and soon it's going to go to the gods, because first of all, transition is near. If you don't handle it very well, it's going to be messy and crazy, and some of the players are going to be casualties. The good thing with violence, every time the government changes, before it is meted even on the opposition, the casualties are normally those in government who are oiling it. Before it eats those in the opposition, it first eats those who have been the greatest beneficiary. For us, we shall be watching. You go back in these videos and see. I even heard when I speak about this, that our motherland is sliding slowly but surely to a failed state. Of course, that's my opinion. Remain yours truly, Mr. Makindi, Kabye Sulaiman Mawagali. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like, and comment so that I can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.